Okay, my name's Don Berlyn, and I'm a vegan, and we're doing a series of interviews of other vegans to find out how we all got here and anything else. So I'd like to introduce Dina, my good internet friend. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, like maybe what you do, how'd you became a vegan, how long ago it was, what motivated you. So turn it over to you.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. It's so great to be able to talk about one of my favorite subjects, veganism. I would say that I was an animal lover from the beginning. I found love for animals with my grandmother's poodles and my aunt's poodle, and I really understood that animals have a rich emotional life, and through those dogs in my childhood. And but I really wasn't vegan until I was a pastor. But in between that, I would have said that I was an animal lover, even though I was still eating meat, so that I can understand that that kind of dynamic that people have now, that you compartmentalize. And so when I get frustrated with meat eaters now, I remember where I was in my teens as working at Kentucky Fried Chicken and totally loving animals. And it was an awakening over the years. And I became a vegan outright when I became a pastor. So I'm an ordained pastor in the United Church of Christ in a small country church in Northern Illinois. And it was during that time when I started there that I became vegan, which I always say that God has a sense of humor, because it's a church full of farmers and people who are wonderful people who also work in the animal agriculture field. So, and so that took a while for me to tell everybody that I'm vegan. It was kind of a confession one Sunday, and they've always been very supportive and curious. And when I was ordained in 2018, and I waited until I was really ready to set forth a vegan perspective in my ordination paper, which was met with resistance. We tussled over it for a few months. And then I was ordained in the church, and we had a whole vegan meal for, after the ceremony. And so I've come across veganism partly from the health perspective. When I was a chaplain, the Dean Ornish program was there, and I was invited to do the prayer and had that meal, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so good. And the CHIP program, which is the Coronary Health Improvement Program with Dr. Deal. And then through the climate issues, but mostly for the animals, when I really committed to being vegans for the animals. But it's for all of it. So it's just been a long journey, and I like to be able to help others. I'm a counselor also, and I've also created the WellBeing, which is an online resource, a community that of Christian vegans, or vegans who are Christian or spiritual. And my focus is on that intersection between our faith and being vegan. And oftentimes, and it happened to me when I became vegan, I thought everybody would go yes right away and jump on board, and they didn't. And so it was very isolating and disappointing and lonely. And so I looked for a community. I couldn't find a faith community that combined veganism and spirituality, Christianity. So I made one. So that's what, and I know there are more now. So anyway, just helping people emotionally. It's an emotional journey being vegan, and it's a spiritual journey. And sometimes our faith communities can feel isolating because they're not quite yet on board. They will be one day.
Mm-hmm. Good. So I think you addressed how faith impacted both your decision and how it affects what you're doing now. So one of the things both you and I have been working with, we're also members of the Dystopian vegan group, is how to help other people deal with their suffering. And one of the big things we've seen over and over is dealing with guilt. So what would be your advice to someone who's suffering for guilt, or just your general any practical suggestions you may have?
Well, guilt is a rough one, and it's something that I struggle with in general. So, and I've been there and I understand that. And so I think that with guilt, we can really beat ourselves up over things that we really don't need to. I think there's maybe a process of acknowledgement, and maybe in a faith situation that we can ask for forgiveness and pray about it, but to not get stuck in guilt, because guilt isn't going to help anyone, ourselves or the animals. So if we get stuck in that rut of guilt, it hampers our ability to help animals and advocate for them when we're feeling that way. But to honor that is a feeling, and some guilt is, guilt. All of our emotions are gifts to us by our Creator, and so the best advice is just to be able to feel your feelings, whatever they may be. And if there are things that maybe, guilt is there for a reason. So there's guilt that's justified and there's unjustified guilt. And probably most of the vegans in the dystopia, this unjustified guilt over things we've done in the past. And there is a rare person out on our earth that has been raised vegan. So most of us have had a history of being meat and dairy eaters. So to be as gentle with yourself as you can. The main commandment that Jesus tells us is to love God and love our neighbors as ourselves. So we are called to love ourselves too. And I think finding community, dystopia, oh my goodness, people who understand us, well-being, if you're interested in that. I think to be able to deal with guilt, to share that and work through it. And also, I'm always an advocate for counseling if you really are really stuck with that. But figuring out what guilt is, unnecessary and just being toxic. And working with a way to let that go and free yourself from that.
So anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I have, if anyone's interested in the 8 ideas of how to live a happy and healthy life being Christian vegan or spiritual vegan. I think that the work that I'm doing right now really is the intersection of faith and psychology and veganism. And so if anybody's interested in that, let me know. And just ways, if you're feeling down about things with veganism and discouraged, you can look at these 8 ideas and, including putting God first and, keeping your perspective. And there's lots of resources in there. So I guess just keep up the great work and the kindness and the compassion, and make sure when you have compassion for animals that you also have compassion for yourself. You deserve that. So
great. And would you repeat the name of your Facebook group?
The WellBeing. It's THE, and WellBeing is one word. WellBeing.
And that's a place where people can interact and ask questions, and the information you just talked about, is it on there?
Yes, and I can also, if somebody would like it, I can send it to you. Do you want? I could send maybe in the comments we could put my, a link to the group and to that resource.
Yeah, that sounds great. So a good place to find out all the information. So it's been great talking to you. It's always nice to talk to another vegan. So the few and far. All right.
Thank you.
Bye from now. And if you check out that Facebook group, there's all kinds of interaction that can happen there. All right. Well, bye for now.
Bye for now.